Tommy C is apparently officially fired from lolcowlive. We're going to break down exactly what happened. And stick around to the end because we're going to go over some of my top picks at who could replace him. Let's talk about it. So for those of you who've been living under a rock in the commentary community, most of you guys will know what lolcowlive is. It is a show that was created by Keemstar that originally featured Boogie2988, Wings of Redemption, and Tommy C. Now the show was supposed to be just those three, but given some of the growing pains that the show's experienced, Keemstar's always had to step up in a role to also stream alongside these guys. And well, needless to say, a lot of the drama that's been featured on the show lately has gone viral. And not for the right reasons.
Boogie, you knocked this out of the park.
I begged you not to make me talk about this on the show. I begged you.
You crushed it.
I begged you. I begged you. I begged you, Dan. I begged you.
You crushed it. You did very good tonight.
I fucking begged you.
You did. What's going on over there?
I mean, from Boogie2988 scamming his whole audience out of crypto to then faking cancer. I mean, okay, maybe it's just Boogie. Baby Boogie's just really the whole thing that's keeping that show from going under. I mean, the guy within a month scammed his whole entire audience out of money to invest in his stupid fatty coin, and then had the brilliant idea to fake having cancer when he wasn't even really sure that he had cancer yet.
Boogie2488, you are being confronted tonight. I am 99% sure that you are faking.
No, don't move.
You are faking your cancer diagnosis, Boogie.
Okay, let's hear that.
I mean, it truly lives up to the name lolcowlive. And if you're not familiar with the term lolcow means, it is basically a content creator that you can constantly milk for laughs. Like a cow. Get it? Hence the term lolcow. Anyway. The show was pretty much ran by Tommy C because they needed someone in there who wasn't really a lolcow, but just kind of had a lot of experience streaming. So that way, you know, someone was present to be able to make sure that the sound was good and that the show ran smoothly. Now, I would never consider Tommy C to be really a lolcow, but that's why he was the host. Kind of, he was put in place to be the guy who would call out Boogie and Wings bullshit when they would kind of go on their little rants.
Like I know there's a way out here, and the reality of it is if I'm just being entirely genuine with you, I feel so sick and so tired all the time, and I like feeling sorry for myself about it. And that's the reality of it is, I spend so much of my day sitting in my little chair going, woe is me, I have cancer, woe is me, I have cancer, woe is me. And apparently that's how I'm going to fucking die. You know,
I had somebody say to me that you're replaceable on this cast. That's not true.
Now, if you're wondering to yourself why Boogie and Wings can't just run the show themselves, well, you know, this is why it was so important to have someone like Tommy C on. Just take a look at the beginning of this episode from a recent lolcow stream and tell me that you have faith in Boogie's ability to run a show. So yeah, I guess you could see why they needed Tommy C on the show. You kind of see what happens when the cows just have full control over the barn. It gets pretty messy. You know, Wings is not much better. I mean, Wings becoming the voice of reason on this show just kind of shows you just the absolute degeneracy that's taking place on here.
because I don't want to destroy somebody's life.
Okay. Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
You just sat here.
I'll destroy mine all day, and my dad is dead, and my mom is dead. I'll talk about those pieces of shit till they rot.
Yeah, but Chad and Desi aren't dead.
Then again, I guess, what do you expect from a show that's based around lolcows? I don't think you're gonna exactly get peak intellectual conversation, but is like some solid audio too much to ask for? I mean, Boogie, you've been streaming for how long and you don't know how to check your audio levels? Maybe the fact that this show is a complete train wreck is what makes it so appealing to people. I mean, after all, what's more entertaining than a guy getting confronted for faking cancer diagnoses?
Let me get down with it. I don't care. I don't care. I just want to get down. I'm in the middle of a very severe panic attack.
If that's not the peak Jerry Springer trash TV we've all loved growing up, then I don't know what is. But anyway, back to the story at hand. So Tommy C is the host of the show, or at least he was the host of the show. He was actually fired today, I believe, officially on X by the lolcowlive Twitter. What a way to say thank you for all your hard work, Tommy C. Here's a tweet letting you know that you are fired.
You are fired.
So what exactly was it that got Tommy C fired? Well, it seems like it was a series of events that kind of led to his firing, but most of all, there was one big thing, and that involved an NDA. But I'm not one to speculate on that, so let's just hear it from Tommy himself.
I got into this knowing that it would fall apart. I got into this knowing it would be crazy. And I got into this pretty much aware that I'd be at this point at some point. How did I know this? A, I've been through it before. B, I watched one guy get fired after another. I'll also explain to you in this episode why I haven't been fired yet, because it's just simply logical, isn't it?
Okay, so let me add real quick that Tommy C at this point was not officially fired from lolcowlive while he's talking. You'll see him actually in real time find out about his firing.
I talked to Keem. Keem said, I want you to really, really needle these guys. I'm going to put you in a chat. And then I saw Games Attorney, not the Games Attorney, Games Attorney in there. And I just assumed that they were, you got probably watched the Turkey Tom video. I assumed he was like a manager of some kind. He was through Keem, only to find a month later, the Keem had, actually it was a couple months later, because I went in, the first thing we recorded was around this time of year last year, 1 year ago, and you guys didn't get to see it till October. And Keem calls me and he says, this guy, I have no idea who he is. I'm like, well, how'd he get in there? Like, well, he's friends with Wings. Like, well, he's running everything. He's like, yeah, I know. He's like, I think I'm out of this project because I don't know who this guy is. And I thought, oh, that's how this is gonna roll. You know, that's how this thing's gonna go. So it's going to be typical Keem management. Come in the room, go, you, go, and then bounce. And when nothing gets done right, it'll be either just yell some more. All right, I suppose. And I'm like, oh, that's what it is, right? So right there and then, and me and Wings, we talked about, you know, hoping, like, I think the hope was 2 years that, you know, we get as much out of it as can. And it's been, thank you, Alpha Rush. It's been amazing. It's been fun. A lot of crazy stuff has happened. I don't regret doing it whatsoever. I don't know if I do it again. I think I've had enough. I have not quit. I have no plans to quit. And that's how it starts. So I knew this thing would wear out. Then I started seeing, you know, D-Max getting moved, Connor getting fired. And then, you know, I was tipped off. I was supposed to be fired a couple back in December. I was warned about it. So it's just, this is the way Keem operates. What he does is he sees what you guys write in the chat. And if there's a certain amount of complaints, then he tries to react to it. The podcast was never going to settle and kind of become its own thing. When he asked me to be on, he told me he was just trying to get the whole thing rolling for Boogie and Wings. Then I find out he's taking a cut. Well, why can't he take a cut? Because, well, it's his idea. Everything has been produced by him. We wouldn't get off the ground something like this if it had not been for him. It's constantly changing, and the chaos that you saw in the beginning was something I totally expected. And what happens is Keem kind of zeroes in on somebody, makes them the enemy, they get rid of them, picks 1. I was in focus, then it went back to Connor, then it went to D-Max, then it went, it's just the way it goes. It's complete and total chaos. Again, I'm not a victim. I knew that's the way it was going to be. Look, you know, I was in the Army. I know what leadership looks like. He doesn't have it. Keem is a fantastic performer, and he's an idea guy. But as far as any kind of management's concerned, he's completely incompetent in that area. Okay, buddy. You throw in Wings and Boogie, who are not the most stable guys on the planet, you have complete and utter and total chaos. So that's what I signed up for. Now you're asking yourself, why haven't you been fired yet? This is where the bullshit comes in. The reason I haven't been fired yet is because of all the bullshit you've heard. Let me explain what lolcowlive is and how I relate to it. First of all, I am not an employee of Keem LLC. Never have been. I receive a check through PayPal, and it's up to me to declare in Germany. There are no shares, despite what you hear. I have nothing in my possession written down saying I have so-and-so shares of this project. None. It's never existed. I simply get a cut, a 25% cut of whatever money comes into the show. That's it. That's what I signed for. And it's good extra money. Like for a part-time job, it's like fantastic. There are no shares. There is no 25% ownership. I own nothing. I have nothing in my name, and nor does any of those other guys have anything in their name that says they own anything.
So what Tommy's talking about right here is that when the whole fiasco with Boogie2988 happened and faking cancer, and Keem threatened to fire him, and when he fired him, he came up with this whole situation where Boogie had to sign over his shares of lolcowlive to Keemstar. It was just kind of a way to like up the storyline a little bit. So Tommy C's kind of just pulling the cover off everything and being like, listen, dude, you know, there was no shares to give between us. Like, that was just all an act. At least if there are shares, I don't have any. I've never had to sign for anything, and I was 25% of that show. Which I think a lot of people really kind of felt in their hearts, too, that some of this stuff was played up for the audience. I don't think that that's a shock to anyone.
Keem owns the show, lock, stock, and barrel. And that's why I haven't been fired yet, because it blows up the shares narrative, 25% ownership, and the stuff that we all have to agree before something's done, like somebody's fired unilaterally. Everything that's been done, every change that is made has been unilateral by Keem. Therefore, he owns the podcast, lock, stock, and barrel. That's it. How can I prove that? Everything that has been done, every change that has been made has been unilateral.
I think something that's interesting to note, though, is that this is going to call into question a lot of what happens on lolcowlive going forward, mainly in the narratives, because now that Tommy C has kind of showed that Keem's not afraid to like milk things up or play them up, a lot of people are going to have a hard time believing everything they see on the show, which I think in the long run is going to hurt them, because I think part of the selling point of lolcowlive is that these guys are just so wacky and crazy. But if it seems like it's artificial wacky and crazy, then you're not going to really be able to know if Boogie's truly having a meltdown or if Wings really is just that dumb. And I think that hurts. You know, in a very competitive YouTube space where people are desperately seeking authenticity and wanting something to really believe in, now that people know that a lot of this stuff was fabricated or storytelling, I think that that could hurt lolcowlive in the future. I mean, what do I know, though? Maybe people do enjoy the Jerry Springer-esque vibe of the whole thing. But I just wanted to point that out because I thought that was something interesting. So when I said there was like a series of events that took place, Tommy C just basically laid out all those series of events that were kind of leading towards his exit from the show. Now we're going to fast forward in the stream a little bit to when Tommy finds out that he's been fired. And he's also going to go over the NDA part, which seems to be the straw that broke the camel's back in regards to his employment with lolcowlive.
And, we'll just go back. I guess now we'll go to the NDA. Okay. So my thing before I left was there is a line. The NDA was a line. And the NDA was also a kind of a beginning of the end thing for me too, because first of all, there's no apparatus in the United States, in Germany, that can keep me from talking about my salary, even though I never did. And I actually can pull up a tweet. Keem eventually admitted that I had never said anything to anybody about, and I can show all this stuff. Also, I'll be releasing the entire NDA, so there's no confusion whatsoever, and all you commentators can do whatever you see fit with it. I don't care. I'm not going over that either. I'm not going point by point. I'm not doing any of those things. You guys can have whatever you like. And when I was called a liar about the NDA being open-ended, the solution to that would be release the NDA. He didn't do it. There's a reason for it, because it's all over the place. I'm not a lawyer. I can't dissect it. I'm just going to let the commentary community do it. Nobody bought this NDA stuff to begin with. I mean, if you think I'm giving Keemstar my address, you're nuts. My name wasn't even spelled right. By the way, my name's not actually Tommy. I mean, it wasn't the most professional thing I've seen. When the NDA came in, I was like, no, this is where I draw the line. And I didn't draw the line because he couldn't hold it against me legally. He can't. We're in different countries. If I sign it, I'll be immediately, within a week or two, I'll be in violation of it. And then he can sell that to you. Everything's about selling to you. Everything. Bring Boogie back after he said he couldn't be fired, and then he was fired. And then they had a bunch of polls. Hey, he tattooed himself. Once he felt comfortable with the poll being what it was, that's when he brought Boogie back. That's what this show is. It's nothing more or nothing less than that. That's what it is.
Now, I'll be honest, I did go into Tommy C's Discord to try to see if I could find this NDA. I couldn't find the link for it. I'm sure it's in there somewhere, but I'm sure we all know what the NDA suggests. It's basically you can't say anything about the show. If I come up with a crazy idea or a storyline that may be fabricated, you can't come out and talk about it. I think we can all kind of guess what the NDA was about. So I'm not going to go through the NDA. I tried to find it, though. I did. But even if I did find it, I don't know if I'd want to step-by-step go through the NDA because that seems incredibly boring to me. Instead, though, let's get to the part where Tommy finds out that he's fired.
And I'm really sorry. Yeah, it can't work.
It's on Twitter. Keem just posted he's fired. He fired you.
I was just told that. Well, that's fine. Well, that sucks, and then that proves. And there's nothing that sucks. I was never hired. Listen, there was.
No, but I'm just saying it sucks, dude. Because to me, you were one of the best people on the show, in my opinion. Yeah.
Thanks. I'm glad you like my work, but I have no regrets, and I'm not gonna fucking cry about it.
You know, I gotta say, to Tommy's credit, he handled this superbly. Not only did he not find out through Twitter, but he found out through someone who was calling into his show. If you compare that to when Boogie got threatened to be fired, he lost his shit completely and was threatening to unalive himself because of it. But Tommy's just like, yeah, you know what? I'm grateful I had my opportunity. You know, I don't think I'd do it again, but I enjoyed the time I did have. Like, that's a pretty cool thing. Like, I can't imagine more people having a better response than Tommy had to this whole situation. Now, to imagine that Tommy doesn't feel like at least a little let down by this, or just a little hurt, would be kind of like silly to think, because he is human being after all. Although he is a veteran who's been through war, so I'm sure getting let go from lolcowlive is probably the least horrible thing he's been through in his lifetime. But as far as like the way he handled it, just absolute chef's kiss. So props to Tommy C for the way he handled it. All right, so now that that's done, let's get into the part that everybody's excited for. We're going to start speculating, and I'm going to give you my top 5 pick replacements for Tommy C on lolcowlive. I will say, I'm sure Keem's like perfect pick would be someone like Mudahar, Oompaville, someone who really carries a lot of oomph and a lot of respect in the commentary community. But we're going to try to be realistic about this, because even though Mudahar and people like Turkey Tom are involved in lolcowlive in some aspects, there's no way I feel like they would abandon what they have going for them right now to dedicate that much time to this particular show. If anything, they are on the same level as Keem, where they could just start a show like this on their own. So we're going to try to be realistic with our picks. It's got to be somebody who is pretty well known within the commentary community, but it's got to be somebody who's on the up and up, and someone who is not somebody who's going to sacrifice their career for going to lolcowlive. With that said, we also don't want to pick people who just, frankly, nobody knows. Like, as much as I would think it would be fun to do that show, nobody knows me except for the people who watch me regularly. But, you know, and that's okay with me. You know, I'm still growing, so I'm not going to be hurt by the fact that I'm not putting myself in my own list, even though I think that I would be awesome to pick on Boogie and Wings of Redemption all day. Although then again, I'm way too nice. I am way too nice to be on that show. We're going to try to keep our picks somewhere along the lines of someone who is in the realm of Tommy C. Somebody who has something to gain from being on the show, but also somebody who brings some oomph to it. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, you know who would be a great person to put on the show? Wavy Web Surf. You know, like, he doesn't need it. Or I'm not going to be like, you know who would be a great person to put on that show? That one guy who did that one video like about that one thing. Like, Prism 42 wouldn't be a good pick because, yeah, even though he did the Ava Tyson thing, nobody knows who the hell he is half the time. Most people don't know who Prism 42 is. And if you're asking yourself who the hell is Prism 42, exactly. That's my point. Now, these picks aren't going to be in any particular order. Like, it's not going to be who I think would be the best compared to fifth, because I don't really care. I just think that they would all be good fits for the show and would keep me watching, to be honest with you. So my first pick would probably be someone who I have a lot of respect for, someone who I think is very well known within the commentary community, and somebody who I think would do a great job of holding Boogie and Wings to their BS, and that is my boy Chudlogic. So if you guys aren't familiar who Chudlogic is, he is a English streamer who streams a lot during the day. I think that he would be such a great fit for this show, mainly because I think that he is somebody who is not easily tricked. He won't fall for a bunch of BS, but I think that, you know, he knows a bit when he sees one, and he can play along and have some fun with it. You know, he's great at blood sports. So that's going to be my first pick, would be Chudlogic. Obviously, Chud is not a lolcow, but I think that that's what makes him good in this role, is that he would be able to call out the cow's bullshit just like Tommy C did. You don't necessarily need a lolcow in this role. With that said, though, I'm not going to eliminate people just because they're lolcows. In fact, my second pick would be the person who was meant for this job in the first place, and that is DarkSYdePhil. After all, the whole lolcowlive was meant to be for Wings of Redemption, Boogie 2988, and DarkSYdePhil. These were the three people who were supposed to be what lolcow was about. And, you know, Phil, I know you always say all the time that you're not interested in doing this show. However, maybe take a break from begging for money and just get some extra cash on the side. Especially if this show grows, you'll be able to make more money down the road. You know, who knows? Now, the reason DarkSide didn't end up on this show was because he didn't want to work for Keem, but he did try putting together a lolcowlive of his own with Boogie and Wings. Just they didn't want to have Keem involved at all, which I can understand, I guess. You don't want to work for someone. Half the fun of becoming a YouTuber is not having to work for someone and to being your own boss. I mean, that's the hell. That's why I do it, right? I'm trying to give myself some financial freedom mean when I don't gotta answer to the man every day? So I do get DSP's original goal of not wanting to work with Keemstar. But with that said, all right, lolcowlive's already established. DSP, you know everybody wants it. Just give the people what they want. I mean, hell, negotiate with Keem. Maybe you can negotiate a higher fee than the other guys. Who knows, you know? I mean, you don't seem as desperate for money as Boogie, but you also do seem desperate for money the way that you run your streams begging for change all the time. So that's pick number 2, DSP, DarkSYdePhil, the man who was meant to be in that seat to begin with. Now, pick number 3 was pretty interesting to me because, in my opinion, this guy is known to be a lolcow. However, he's kind of abandoned the whole drama commentary thing to just focus on one particular game in Resident Evil 2, which, don't get me wrong, I love Resident Evil, right? But to abandon your whole entire audience to just focus on one game is a little weird. But, I mean, hell, he's a lolcow, so pick number 3 for me was Tipster. I think Tipster would fit perfectly into this show. He is one of the most popular lolcows on the internet, and I think that just throwing him in the mix would be one of the most entertaining things that we could ever ask for. To watch Tipster interact with Boogie2988 and Wings of Redemption, to me, I just, you know, I'd pay to see that. He'd have to get approval from Keffels to be able to do that, right? Because we know that Keffels runs that man's life. Not a whole lot to say about Tipster, except it would just be kind of selfish fun for me to watch him try to be a part of that show. If you don't know who any of these people are, I apologize, but I promise you, if you do a little bit of investigation into them, you will find that all of my picks fit perfectly into the narrative that I've been trying to paint so far, with the exception of Chudlogic. The other two are pretty well-known lolcows. Chud is more of a logical choice because I just want to see someone call them out on their BS all the time and just kind of get flustered with the things that they say. So I apologize if you don't know who these people are, but I feel like for the task at hand, I think I'm absolutely nailing these picks. So let's get on to number 4. Now, my 4th pick is an interesting choice because this person didn't actually start off as a lolcow, but over time they became a lolcow through bad takes, some really poor interactions with fans. But this person goes by the name Ethanisonline. Now, Ethan actually at one point was a respectable YouTuber, but over the past year or two, he's kind of really ended up being looked at as a lolcow simply because of just his bad take after bad take. And I just think his ability to be so far leftist, like super woke, would get him so enraged by all the things that Boogie and Wings say that it would just be pure entertainment, nonstop. I mean, other than that, I don't really have a whole lot to say about Ethanisonline. I was actually thinking about doing a video on him where I'll dive into more of his bad takes, but let's just put it this way. This guy will literally defend files if it was a conservative that was berating them just to prove a point. Like, that's the kind of ego we're working with here with Ethanisonline. Okay, so my 5th pick might catch you off guard a little bit. This guy is a lolcow in a way that most people can't say they've been before, and that is someone who at one point was on top of the world when it came to YouTube. Through actions of his own and poor choices, ended up being looked at as a major lolcow now, and that is Def Noodles. So Def Noodles is known for his roast battle story that got him in a heap of heat. I guess is the only way you could really put it. Found himself on the receiving end of Salvo Pancake's attack and didn't react very well. In fact, he physically assaulted Salvo Pancakes at one of his roast battles, but there's so much out there on all of these guys that I just laid out for you, so I suggest if you want to learn more about them, go just search their names. But Def Noodles, I think, you know, is in need of a redemption arc, and I think what perfect way to redeem yourself than to go be on a show with Boogie2988 and Wings of Redemption. I think Def Noodles would be a perfect fit for the show. One, because he's not afraid to be sarcastic, and I think that his humor works well in that environment. Now, this is all assuming that any of these people can work with or deal with Keemstar, who could be a host himself, but, you know, he's already made it very clear that that's not something he's interested in. The show is supposed to be self-sufficient. He doesn't need to be there every time. The show should just run on its own, so he could just rake in cash and give it out when he wants. So that's my 5th pick is Def Noodles. So that's my 5 picks. So my first pick was Chudlogic, not a lolcow, but just someone who I think would be entertaining to watch call out the BS of Boogie2988 and Wings, and just to watch Chud get flustered dealing with them all the time seems pretty entertaining to me. My second pick was, of course, can you remember who my second pick was? My second pick, of course, was DSP, the man who was originally designed for that chair. My third pick was Tipster, who just out of pure selfish entertainment want to see him interact with those other two, because I think that they would have a good time getting him riled up, and that's entertainment for everybody. My fourth pick was Ethanisonline, because again, just watching him deal with these guys and getting all riled up and very sensitive as he is would lead to a lot of really interesting back and forth between the two. And fifth but not last is Def Noodles. I think that rounds out my top 5. Some honorable mentions that I think could fill in the role well. I think that Chris the Narc would be a good host, just because he would just basically curse off Wings of Redemption and Boogie all the time. And I mean, what's not to love about that? Chris, though, on a stream said he was not interested in the role. That's why I didn't put him in the list. Another honorable mention for me would be EDP445. That guy's like the localiest of locals, except I hate that he reps the Eagles and that he tried to meet up with minors, so I don't like him for that. I don't want no touchers involved in this show, if you get what I'm saying. It's pretty disgusting. There's no place in that. Don't ruin my show by putting no toucher on there. Even though some people could debate that Boogie2988 is a bit of a rumor, I guess you could say. At least that's what they say anyway, because of how young his partner is. And another honorable mention that I heard actually on Tommy C's stream was Salvo Pancakes, who, according to Tommy C, Keem wants absolutely nothing to do with. Salvo Pancakes is pretty much batshit crazy. So yeah, that's why I didn't really list him. Plus, I don't really like the guy's attitude. You know, he just seems like kind of like he's really full of himself, you know? And I don't really vibe with that too much. But anyway, guys, that's my list. There's my honorable mentions. But I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments who you want to see take over the role of host of LolCowLive. It could be anybody. Go for it. You know, obviously, I'm interested in hearing what you guys have to say. But with that said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. What do you think the future of LolCowLive looks like now that we know that Keem is kind of juicing up a lot of the drama on the show? You heard it from Tommy C himself. Even though Tommy C wasn't really aware of the drama, I mean, do you think that a lot of this stuff's fabricated? Do you think that it's organic? Or do you think that they're just playing it up for likes? Anyway, guys, I'm EG. If you enjoyed this video, I hope to see you on the next one. Peace. What's up, guys? If you like this video and you want to see the next one, click this link right here.